Leslie here at home, just giving you some tips and tricks on doing the Oh Happy Day projects. So first of all, I want to give you the order in which your project should be done. This gives you kind of working from easier ones to harder ones. And so you build upon your skills. So the first one you're going to do is the tea towel. The second one you're going to do is the present. The third one will be the zipper pouch. Next will be the cupcake pin cushion. Then your pillow. And finally the gratitude notebook cover. So let me go over each one and give you a couple little tips to hopefully help you with doing the projects without any issue. So one on the tea towel project, that's a pretty straightforward one. You do want to, if your machine does not cut jump threads, or even if it does, go ahead and before you put that vinyl on, look at step number 10, that before you put that vinyl on, make sure that you have cut any stray threads or any jump threads that are under there, because once you put that vinyl on, you're not going to be able to get in there and snip those away later. So that's a tip for that. And then when you're trimming your vinyl, you do want to leave a little 1/8 of an inch, so this is step 13, an 1/8 of an inch around that vinyl so that you do not cut into your stitches. So you wouldn't want to do that, and it really isn't noticeable. It looks like you've cut it right up to the stitches. So those are the 2 tips for that project. Then your next one is this, the present, which is a machine embroidery by number. The nice thing is you could use a white or off-white thread, and that would give you, your whole project could be done with the one color thread. So just make sure on any machine embroidered project that you're paying close attention to which way the fabric places. Remember, you're getting a placement line, a stitch line, a trim. So it's like place, stitch, trim, place, and it's stitch and then flip. So make sure you do all those steps very carefully until you get to the end. So when you're very near the end and putting on your little loops on the top of the project, you want to make sure that you put the fold of the loop towards the inside and the edge of the loop towards the outside, so that when it's folded back in upon itself, you have a nice little loop hanging off at the top. So you ask me how I know that you can flip that around and end up with ends sticking out of the top. So you don't want that. So do make sure your raw edges are up here, the fold is down there, and that you tape. Very important to tape that so that those don't wiggle anywhere, and very important to tape this securely too before you stitch, so that your foot can't catch any of those folds as it goes around. So that's the tips on that one. On the zipper pouch, it's nice that once you're in the kind of paper piecing groove or machine embroidery by number groove, you're just rolling right along into the zipper pouch. So you're gonna follow along. Just make sure that you're placing, flipping, stitching, trimming, all that at the appropriate time. Have the direct fabrics facing the correct way for each time. And then once you get to, you want to make sure that too. So when you get to your zipper, you want to make sure that you tape that zipper in place before you stitch it down. Very important. And also make sure that you, at this part of the project, open that zipper up 3/4 of the way. You don't want to have to try and somehow move that zipper once you've flipped around because that's never any fun. Make sure when you're putting your lining and your outside pieces that you have every piece of fabric, the correct piece of fabric, and that it's facing the right way. So you get those done. You would be technically half the way through, and that would have been day 1 of a 2-day event. So on day 2, you're going to start with your little cupcake pin cushion. And there should be a stand, a green stand for this in your kit. If not, let us know, because we would have failed. But, so on this, 2 things to note. 1, when you are stitching this, when you put this yellow fabric down, you are not trimming away here, because you're putting a lot of stitching on it afterwards, and it's going to shrink it in. So you don't want to put your, you don't want to trim that fabric right yet. You want to wait and trim it at this point before you're putting a finishing edge stitch on it. You also want to make sure that when you put that piece of ribbon down, it's going to want to scooch. So do tape at the top and the bottom, have it kind of tight, and then babysit that a little bit. Make sure that it doesn't go off track as you stitch it. The other last tip is it's going to stitch like the top of your cupcake and stuff. You do want to cut right on that stitch line, because you want to just cut those little threads away. If you cut a little bit outside the stitch line, then you're going to have to pull all those out. So just go ahead and cut right on the stitch line, and that will get rid of those little stitches. Even a scooch inside is fine. And then if you do not have a glue gun at home, save the rest of this putting together for doing it in our classroom sometime. All right, the next project up is the pillow. This is a multi-hoop project. You're going to be doing the small event project size. There is a larger size. If you have a machine that has a larger hoop, up to an 8x12 will be necessary. You can make a larger pillow. I believe it turns out about 12-inch pillow. So the tips on this, hopefully you've all done a multi-hoop project at some point. So after your first hooping, when you're re-hooping it, you want to make sure that you line everything up. What did I write there? Oh yeah, first of all, just, after you finish the one side, just trim your excess stabilizer away. It doesn't have to be trimmed like right to the fabric line. Just, a general thing will be fine. You'll be trimming it all later. So the other thing is you want to, when you've re-hooped and it's time to tape that new side onto the hoop, make sure that your tape is somehow touching your hoop, because otherwise it's not very secure. Just to tape it to the stabilizer, it can still move around a bit. So make sure before you remove your pins that you have that taped to your hoop, and then carefully flip it back over. So that's, I think, pretty much the tip on that one. Once you get it re-hooped, and you'll stitch a basting line, make sure that's lined up. Oh, there was one other thing. So on the side pieces, make sure that you have a little bit extra fabric, because you're going to stitch this down and then fold that 1/4 inch over and then flip it up, and then it's going to do all the little background stitches. So you don't want a raw edge there, so make sure you've left a little bit, 1/4 inch, so you can fold that back and then flip it up to make a nice outside border. Oh, dropped my paper. So then your last project is this adorable little gratitude notebook cover. And the one trick on that, 2 tricks. One, make sure you're going to get little placement lines, and make sure you put that piece of fabric with the fold towards the center and your raw edges lined up with the other raw edges, so that it makes that flap to hold the little notebook. So make sure you do that on both ends. And then the other thing here again is make sure you tape your piece of ribbon, that you place it right in smack over the middle of that placement line, and that two, that you do tape it. So make sure you tape it. And I actually, even once I tucked it into here, I taped it there too. Taped it down here so it wouldn't run away on me somehow inside that last stitching. So those are your tips, and hopefully this will help you. But please just call if you have any questions or any issues. Just call, and we'll be happy to let you know. Happy to help you out. Thanks so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.